One of the most popular games in the franchise has gotta be Pokemon Platinum. And seeing how we have yet to cover a team from one of the most iconic Pokemon games of all time, let's talk about this team by J.A. Kano, who made a team featuring Empoleon and some fun options you wouldn't always see shown in this generation. This team on paper seems to have a lot of pieces that should hopefully round out the few matchups that Empoleon can't exactly properly handle. But just how good is it really in Pokemon Platinum? Let's take a look at how good this truly would be for your everyday Generation 4 player. And I'll even mention my overall thoughts on how I feel about it. Starting off our games, we have Piplup, which is going to be a fantastic way to start the game, because some of our other early route encounters struggle to beat Rourke. This will be a surefire way to muscle past the entirety of Rourke's team without needing to overlevel some of our ground or rock weak partners. Piplup has a lot of other strong matchups though, especially once it evolves, as it's great in the gym leaders like Byron, Candace, and a majority of the Elite Four. Honestly, Empoleon's worst matchup in the Elite Four would probably be Bertha, who still, despite dealing super effective ground type damage to it, would hate taking on our water type attacks. Empoleon, thankfully compared to a lot of the other teammates, is rather easy to evolve, as you'll get it through level up around your 5th or 6th gym badge. Empoleon also offers a lot of utility to your roster through its HM access, with options like Surf being great on it, not only for travel across the region, but even for a general offensive water type move, as it is Empoleon's best option for water types anyway. I think especially seeing where the rest of this team goes, it's easily a top tier starter choice. But we still have to figure out who will partner up with Empoleon to handle matchups like Gardenia, Maylene, Crasher Wake, and Volkner, as Empoleon will struggle into these teams for sure on its own. Thankfully, we addressed one of these gyms immediately with one of our next Pokemon, being Luxray. Luxray is a pretty cool mon, and while I don't think an electric type is the most necessary in Generation 4, it is really helpful specifically for Crasher Wake, which Empoleon would struggle against on its own. Luxray can absolutely devastate both Wake's Gyarados and Floatzel, while Empoleon can always learn a move like Grass Knot from Gardenia to specifically handle the Quagsire that he has. The assistance from Luxray will provide a great assist to Empoleon though, as you'll want to dedicate Empoleon to Quagsire as much as possible. And even if you wanted to use Empoleon to handle an option like Gyarados, why use Grass Knot when it's a neutral move when you can just use a ×4 super effective electric move on your Luxray? Luxray's role is not exactly the most necessary on a broader standpoint, but I think with its other partners, it's a perfect fit to handle this one specific instance that is very needed for your starter. Plus, who wouldn't want to catch their first Shinx in the game? It's honestly one of the most adorable early route Pokemon in these games, and it's pretty much yours as soon as you reach Route 203. Coming up though, we have a mon that should fill in the gaps for another 2 encounters we'd struggle against. With our next pick in Crobat, you can get Zubat as early as Route 203, which is perfect, because as long as it's nighttime, you can get this while you're catching a Shinx anyway. Zubat is a great partner for these two, as neither Luxray or Empoleon is suited for Gardenia or Maylene, whereas Crobat will be a terrifying option to combat both gyms with. As it is a flying and poison type, it will be a 4 times resistant to both grass and fighting type mons. Crobat also gives this team a cool fly user, which, similar to Empoleon, means you'll cover for your stab options while also not taking away a value move slot on your HM Pokemon. Crobat works really well though to round out these 3. You just need to be ready to commit to a friendship evolution, as it's the most annoying part of having a Crobat. That said, Golbat is still more than viable against most trainers until you can finally evolve it, and it'll still do the job plenty well. We've now accounted for all of Empoleon's worst gym leaders except for one, being Volkner, so a good ground type would be a fantastic choice here. Thankfully, once we've beaten Gardenia, the game gives us access to Gligar. Gligar is accessible on Route 206, and it's a pretty strong option in Generation 4. Gliscor's typing has amazing synergy with Empoleon, as its biggest weaknesses are ice and water, both of which Empoleon has strong resistances to, while Gliscor has great resistances to fighting, while being immune to electric. Gliscor's evolution is pretty easy too, as there's a Razor Fang you can find with the Dowsing Machine on Route 214. And then from there, you just need to evolve your Gligar at night. Gliscor will be the perfect solution to fighting Volkner. And it's a nice backup for Maylene as well, in case Crobat doesn't do the job. Gliscor is also similarly fantastic in the Elite Four, matching up amazingly into options like Bertha and Flint. And it's one of the best responses to Cynthia's Garchomp in the entire game. I honestly am loving the synergy this team has provided itself so far. And it's using Pokemon that I'm sure get a bit overlooked when it comes to partnering them together. With Fantina coming up, finding a cool normal type would be a great pick for this team. And thankfully, there's a gift encounter in Hearthome City for a free Eevee. Eevee is going to eventually evolve into Glaceon, but seeing as we can't do that for a while anyway, let's talk about its great matchup into specifically the Ghost Gym as an Eevee, because the Ghost immunity would be great. Unfortunately though, Eevee actually will only be learning normal type attacks at this time, so you'll need to either find TMs for it, or use your other 4 Pokemon instead. Worst case, you can always pivot into Eevee to confuse the AI before bringing in another Pokemon instead, which will maybe help give you a last second KO you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Eevee won't do much else for this team until it's evolved into Glaceon on the way to Route 217 by the Ice Rock. Once you get a Glaceon though, this is a pretty cool response to options like Bertha without needing to risk your Empoleon. And it's amazing to handle your rival's Torterra, that will definitely have ground type attacks for your Empoleon. I think it's a cool situational pick, even if it's just for these 2 matchups anyway, as your first 4 Pokemon do a great job of handling each other's weaknesses anyway. And these battles are some of the only options you could even look to improve this team with anyway. Plus, who am I to turn down a Pokemon that's handed to you for free? Heading over to Route 209, we'll be getting a pretty cool Ghost type option to finish off this team with Duskull. Duskull is going to be kind of a pain to evolve if you aren't able to trade, but the person here did mention they use the Dusknoir, so we will talk about it as if it is a Dusknoir. That said though, even Dusclops would still fit well on this team in my opinion. You'd be provided a pretty cool bulky Ghost type that is pretty difficult to deal with in the late game outside of Team Galactic, as these games lack a lot of strong Dark and Ghost types after Fantina. That said though, you will lack your Ghost type to handle Fantina for super effective damage. But our first 5 Pokemon should still be more than enough here. Dusknoir has a lot of cool moveset options for sure, and if you're willing to commit to evolving it, it's a pretty cool option. For anyone who can't look into trading to evolve their Ghost type though, Mismagius is a potential replacement that could still at least give some similarly strong and unique coverage for this team. Or you can just stick with Dusclops, which fits well here. Oh wait, I forgot. Joke's on me. Misdreavus is only accessible in Pearl, so I guess Dusclops you are gonna have to stick with. Well, that wraps up J.A. Kano's wonderful team for Pokemon Platinum. Overall, I'd say this is a really fun team, and I think it'd be a really unique but enjoyable way to play through Platinum for anyone looking for a change of pace in these games. If you guys want to try it yourselves, let me know what it does for you, as I'd love to see how you guys enjoy using this combination of mons. With that said though, I'll see you guys really soon for another viewer team.